The following program is a color feature presentation on the HSM Television Network.
Three-man rush. Randall stops, throws it as far as he can. Cobb! Touchdown! Jack Cobb got it and scored! Last play of the game, and I don't believe it! I do not believe it!
Welcome to Basically a Football Show.
Basically a football show, week 6 in college, week 5 in the National Football League. But as always, it turns out to be, at least early on in the season, college is more interesting this week. So we're going to start where we always do at number 1 in the rankings. Still number 1 with a 49-30 win over Arkansas. The number 1 Alabama Crimson Tide, 56 out of 61 first place votes in the poll this week.
Routine win. They got number 16 team in the country, an Arkansas team that's actually pretty good. And Bama wins by 19, which raises this question. Are they better than they were last year?
I don't think they're better, but I think they're still just as good and better than most teams in the country.
See, I think they're better. I think both Alabama and Ohio State are better than they were last year, despite the fact they've lost all these players.
Yeah, I think Ohio State's better. I don't think that's a question. Speaking of the number 2 team in the country, your Ohio State Buckeyes, 38-17 win over Indiana. Indiana not as much of a threat as we might have led on last week.
This game was a lot closer than that score indicates. The Buckeyes scored a late defensive touchdown and kind of put this one away late. I got to give the Hoosiers credit. They hung in there the entire game. I don't think it was ever really in doubt, but Indiana wouldn't go away. They're pesky.
Leading rusher for the Buckeyes, J.T. Barrett, 26 carries, 137 yards, the quarterback.
Do you know how screwed they are if he gets hurt?
Yeah. In the previous years, it was they have 4 quarterbacks. It doesn't matter. Now J.T. Barrett is the quarterback, and they got to keep him upright. I think probably the most impressive or at least dominating win of the weekend came from your rivals up the road, the number 4 Michigan Wolverines. Does Rutgers regret joining the Big Ten? Is this like the worst mistake they've ever made?
If they didn't regret it last week when Ohio State hung 58 on them, I'm pretty sure they're regretting it this week when Michigan went out and said, we will do them 20 better. 78-0 the final in this one.
78-0. Michigan just pace poor Rutgers.
And let me point out, too, this was not at the Big House. This was in New Jersey. Michigan did this to them. Yeah. Rutgers should go back to whatever it was they were in before this because the Big Ten's not working out so well for them.
The game was so bad that at one point the Rutgers band played the Michigan fight song. They were that fed up with what the Scarlet Knights were doing. Here's the stat totals because I have to run through these because it's bonkers. Michigan, 600 total yards. Rutgers, 39. Michigan, 481 rushing yards. Rutgers, 34. Michigan, 119 passing. Rutgers, 5. 20 first downs to 2. Rutgers was 0 for 17 on third down. Their average yards per play, 0.7.
I think Jim Harbaugh is a little upset that Michigan can't seem to get past number 4 in these rankings. He's just going out and trying to prove a point every week at this point, right?
Another team that really wanted to make a point, number 5 Washington, 70-21, unleashing 12 years of frustration on the Oregon Ducks. I think any doubts we had about Washington are assuaged. The win over Stanford was not a fluke. It looks like the Pac-12 is Washington's conference to lose.
I have to agree. We were waiting for them to play someone. They played Stanford, and we said, okay, maybe that's a fluke. We'll wait one more week, see what they do against Oregon, and they made another statement. Now, all of a sudden, you've got the Washington Huskies, who we weren't sure of starting the season, but I'm right there. I think that's their conference to lose. This is maybe the result. Chris Peterson's been there how long now?
This is his 5th year.
We're finally seeing the results of that hire, and it seems to be working out very, very well for the Washington Huskies. Moving
up into number 6 is the Texas A&M Aggies. They move up 2 spots after beating Tennessee. Another one where, God bless you, Tennessee. You fight really hard. You're down 21-7 after the first quarter. Like, I watch that game and I see A&M go up, and it's like, oh, well, there's Tennessee again. Maybe this is the time that finally bites them in the ass. But no, Tennessee gets 1 point in the fourth quarter. They tie it. They go to double overtime before A&M is able to intercept Tennessee in double OT and beat them 45-38. I mean, I got to hand it to Tennessee for the fight and that they keep showing to keep themselves in these races, but they finally lose their first game to an A&M team that looks pretty good themselves.
Well, that's the thing with Tennessee. We talked about it last week. How long can they stay on the high wire act before it finally comes back to get them?
The gauntlet doesn't stop as they host Alabama this weekend. If you go down 21 points to Alabama in the first half,
Forget it.
You're coming back in that one. But good job by A&M, good pass rush still, and Trevor Knight looking pretty decent at quarterback for the Texas Aggies. Moved down 7 spots from number 6 to number 13, killing its playoff hopes. Number 6, Houston, goes on the road to Navy and loses to the Midshipmen 46-40. This is a big thing for Houston in 2 ways. One, knocks them out of the playoff picture, I think. The other part of this is it's not a non-conference game.
They're done.
Yeah.
Because even if they stay at 1 loss, because of who they lost to, they're not going to knock out anybody. Like, say, if, I don't know, Alabama wins the SEC with 1 loss, there's no way that Houston's going to beat out Alabama or whomever, so they're done. They couldn't lose to Navy, and they did.
They needed to run the table, and this was a big one. Again, they played Louisville, who's still number 7 later in the season. That's a big loss for Louisville, too, to see Houston go down like that. To Navy, and we say it with Georgia Tech, we say it with Navy, the triple option can screw with you, man. If you're not ready, you're taking a week off, they can do stuff, especially if they have some talent, which it looks like Navy has again. They only have 1 loss of the season. They're 3-0 in conference. Navy's not a half bad team, especially if they get that triple option running and you don't know what to do with it.
If you don't know what to do with it, and they've got halfway decent athletes, it causes you all sorts of trouble, as we see here. But to lose to Navy, it has a domino effect. It affects a whole lot of teams down the road.
Yeah, and it's too bad. I mean, I like Houston. I like the coach there. I like the way they play. They're still going to be in the mix for a pretty good bowl game at the end of it, but no crash in the playoff. And you say that they're the leader in the group of 5. They're only 2 spots ahead of Boise State. And Boise State, they beat whoever they played. New Mexico, they beat them 49-21. And Boise State should do that to most of the teams on their schedule. And if Boise finishes undefeated,
they get it.
And Houston still has that Louisville game, which if they beat Louisville, that'll move them up. But if they probably lose to Louisville, like they could, then that's the spot where Boise State could overtake them. And then Houston isn't even playing in one of the big bowl games, and we get another Boise State Fiesta Bowl.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like they couldn't send them to Miami for the Orange Bowl or something. And also, if Boise goes undefeated and we have a bunch of 1-loss teams, what do you do with them?
You can't put them in.
I agree. But a lot of people are going to say that they should be there. You're going to get the argument. I agree with you. With the schedule they play, you can't put them in. But there are going to be people that say they should be there.
But in between number 13 Houston and number 15 Boise State, moving up 9 spots back into our lives, is the Florida State Seminoles. They knock off the now number 16, then number 10 Miami Hurricanes, 20-19.
The Canes finally looked like the Canes again in this game. Did you see the throwbacks they wore?
Yes.
Gorgeous. That was a beautiful game to look at. But I'm not sold on either one of these teams. I thought Miami was way overranked at 10.
Yeah.
And I'm still not buying in on the Seminoles. Sorry. I've just seen them get lit up by a couple of teams that they had no business getting lit up by.
Miami had 1. Then, they keep moving up the rankings, probably undeservedly. And you say, well, maybe Miami can make some noise. Maybe they can knock off Clemson, but probably not. But yeah, like you said, neither of these teams are going to go anywhere, but it was a fun little game. Moving up to 17 is the Virginia Tech Hokies. They move up 8 spots with a win over previously number 17 North Carolina, 34-3.
I am surprised by this result. I thought North Carolina was better than this, but you know what? I think might have happened here a little bit. You come off that big Florida State win, and, well, guess what? You still got to play the rest of your schedule, and maybe they kind of let this one slip past them. But nice job by Tech. I mean, this wasn't even close.
Number 18 still is the Florida Gators. Their game against LSU was postponed due to Hurricane Matthew. Number 19, moving up a spot and still just won't leave us, is the Oklahoma Sooners.
Oh, jeez.
They survive a barn burner against Texas in the Cotton Bowl, 45-40. Big 12 football game.
I'm just going to say Big 12 defense. If you listen to the show all season, you know what that means, and we can move right on past this one. That in Texas is not back after all.
Yeah, whoever wins the Big 12 is going to end up being down at this portion of the rankings, 19-20. It's just the way they play. Utah, they move up 3 spots with a win over Arizona, 36-23. Good home win there.
See, I think the Utes are underranked at 24. I think they should be higher than that. I look at the rankings, and I think they're better than some of the teams in front of them.
Right now, they're the top team in the Pac-12 South. They got a win over USC, so they're up on them in the tiebreakers. Again, if things were to hold, Utah would end up playing Washington in the Pac-12 championship game. And I think that'd be a pretty fun game.
Yeah.
Utah's defense and that they don't get the home field advantage, but it'd be a fun game and another good win for Washington to kind of boost themselves. Moving into the rankings, The number 23 Auburn Tigers, somehow, a team that we had left for dead. Number 24, the 6-0 Western Michigan Mustangs.
Get out of here.
Number 24 in the country, 6-0. No, not the Mustangs. They're the Broncos.
The Broncos, right. A little action here in the top 25. Nice. I like
Let's see. Got on their schedule. They beat Northwestern by a point. They beat North Carolina Central by 50. They beat Georgia Southern, Central Michigan, Northern Illinois.
Northern Illinois is bad this year, which thank God for that. But I bet you the Rockets don't play them this year or something.
Look forward to that end of the season clash last week of the season, November 25th, Toledo, Western Michigan.
That'll be a barn burner.
Action.
Mark it on your calendars, folks. Forget Ohio State, Michigan. Forget the Iron Bowl. Forget all of that. It's all taking place. Western Michigan, Toledo, November 25th.
We're just a couple baseball playoff weeks away from Tuesday night action.
That's right. Yep.
Then moving up into number 25 is the Navy Midshipmen 4-1. Then we're ranked 25 in this week's poll. Moving on to the National Football League. I want to say that because another week passed by, we know more, but I don't think that's the case.
Well, we know one thing. We know the Patriots are good.
We know the Patriots are good. We know the Vikings are good.
Right.
Steelers are probably pretty good. I lost my little faith that I had in the Bengals.
Yep, me too.
There's a couple sure things, and there's a whole lot of maybe. There are some teams that I know for sure are just garbage.
We know that there's a couple of good teams. We know there's some very, very bad teams, and everything in the... Well, how many times have we said this in 4 years? And everything in the middle is a big question mark.
Yeah. I think, as I kind of watched all the games unfold on Sunday, there's only a small handful of actual good teams.
I agree.
A lot of bad football teams in the league right now.
And a lot of mediocre.
Yeah.
Because you get a team like the Lions, for example. Last week, I would have said, I said they were the worst team in the league, and then they get a win against an Eagles team that I thought was pretty good.
Let's start on Thursday night where the Cardinals, they bounced back from what looked like to be a devastating loss against the Rams. They were going into this game without Carson Palmer. We've seen Drew Stanton play. I didn't think he was going to do too well. He came in and acquitted himself very well. I think he had 3 touchdown passes and a 33-21 win over the 49ers on the road. I think this is just a big win for the Cardinals to get back on track, but otherwise they still have a lot of work to do. And without Carson Palmer, I don't know how far this team can really go. Moving on to Sunday, early games. Again, 2 teams that I can assure you are terrible football teams. The Bears and the Colts. Brian Hoyer had 397 yards passing in this game. If that doesn't tell you what's wrong with the Colts, despite winning this game, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. 2 bad teams. 2 bad teams.
Yeah. 2 bad teams. 1 bad team and 1 good team. Tom Brady comes back to the Patriots and leads them in a pretty easy win, 33-13. Browns are 0-5. Cody Kessler got hurt in this game. Charlie Whitehurst had to play in this game for the Browns.
Charlie Whitehurst, the winner of the Basically a Sports Show Who Has the Best Gig in the NFL award. Charlie Whitehurst.
He actually has to play right now, so that gig doesn't look as good, especially when you're behind those Browns.
Right.
Charlie Whitehurst, I think he's the 5th quarterback that the Browns had to use because Terrell Pryor came in for a couple plays.
When Kessler went down, they on the broadcast, I was watching Red Zone actually, they're like, they're going to go to Charlie Whitehurst, and then they come back and they say, no, the Browns have gone with Terrell Pryor. I don't know of a team that's more snake bit and just more cursed than the Cleveland Browns. It's unbelievable.
They've been back since 99. To think in 17 years they haven't found 1 quarterback worth a damn, it's just amazing. They've had 5 people throw the football for them this season. It's RG3, Josh McCown, Terrell Pryor, Cody Kessler, and Charlie Whitehurst.
Yep.
5 guys.
Yep.
Week 5.
Yeah, they're right on course. It is so bad that ridiculous jersey that person had with all the starting quarterbacks, they finally gave up. They said, we can't do this anymore. I don't know what to say about the Browns at this point.
And good job by the Browns wearing the all-brown uniforms in this one, just knowing that they're going to look like a bunch of out there.
Yeah, might as well just take it all the way.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on, the Eagles taking on the Lions. The Eagles suffered their first loss, 24-23.
Again, like with the Broncos, the Eagles weren't going to go undefeated. This is one that you think they probably should have won. But, Wentz didn't play half bad in this. And the Lions, they're going to win a game or 2 here and there. I'm not – this one I don't sweat with the Eagles. I'm not worried about them yet. This is just a bump in the road is the way I'm looking at it.
And something that a lot of people have said, and that I saw with at least his demeanor on the sideline and with his answers in the post-game press conference, Carson Wentz looks like a guy that's ready to be an NFL quarterback. He just has the right demeanor. Things don't rattle him much. He's very confident in what he's going to do. And it makes me regret that he's not the Rams starting quarterback. But
well, there's just such that prevailing thought in the NFL about the smaller schools. But Wentz had the size. He's the prototypical NFL quarterback. He played in a prototypical NFL offense. But he went to a small school, so we're going to go with the guy, Jared Goff, from the big school. I think it was a huge mistake. I don't know that you can just write these guys off automatically because they didn't play at an Ohio State or a Cal or whatever. Maybe Carson Wentz is the lesson that the NFL needs to learn. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how the interviews went, but if the little bits that I've seen from Jared Goff, at least in Hard Knocks, and the bits that I've seen of Carson Wentz in, at least on the sideline in these post-game interviews, one guy definitely has the starting quarterback demeanor and the other one doesn't. Being an NFL quarterback, it's a lot about your mentality and being able to handle the whole thing. And Carson Wentz looks like he's able to handle it.
I'm with you. I think he's got the goods, and he's played well so far. Even in a loss, he played pretty well. Has Goff even seen the field yet for the Rams?
No. This is supposedly the plan, that they're not going to let him play, that he's going to sit there and he's going to learn. And the only way he's going to play is if it's, an emergency where Keenum gets hurt or something.
Okay, that's fine, but how many teams, Marcus Mariota started last year, Jameis Winston started last year, Carson Wentz is starting this year. That's just such old thinking. That's so Jeff Fisher-like. It's like, dude, look, in this day and age, you can start a rookie quarterback and be okay. You might not win the Super Bowl, but you can go ahead and do it if he's good enough.
One way or another, the Rams have hitched their wagon to him because they spent a lot to get him.
Yeah. But
they're going to have to see what he's worth at some point. And if they don't, it's one of those things where if he never plays, then that will be the ultimate damnation of what this organization, sold its soul to do.
And one more thing on Wentz. Didn't the Cleveland Browns trade out of the slot where they could have had Carson Wentz?
Yep.
Yeah, and we'll take RG3, who is probably the only quarterback in the NFL more brittle than Carson Palmer. We'll put him in there instead. I don't know. Anyway, let's move along here. I'll just get mad and frustrated.
You mentioned the Titans getting a win over the Dolphins, 30-17. Again, two not great football teams, but the Titans are definitely pesky. Dolphins' moment in the sun as being that team that could possibly do it is finally over. The Dolphins are not anymore. Another just a bad football game was the Redskins and the Ravens. Redskins win this one 16-10, but God, man, neither of these teams are good at all. The Ravens have lost 2 in a row now, and I think they're on that slide to where they should be. And, the Redskins are what they are. I guess there was a good win for them to have, that they get a win to move up to 3-2, but I
think the Redskins are one of those teams that are just good enough to where if everything clicks, you go, hey, they might not be too bad. I still think the Ravens are a little bit better than you think they are, but I'm starting to lose faith pretty quick.
Speaking of teams that are good, the last remaining undefeated team in the National Football League is the Minnesota Vikings. That defense is good. Sam Bradford looks good.
Let's not forget that 6 weeks ago, everybody in the world, including every Minnesota Vikings fan, thought their season was over.
Yep.
That was it. They're done. Wow, what a disaster. And here they are. Yep.
You ask, who's going to be the last undefeated team? It's not the Vikings.
No. We were all just like, that's it. Too bad. They looked like they were going to be good this year, and wow. I hate to break it to Packers fans, but this team is better than the Green Bay Packers.
The Vikings are clearly the best team in the NFC right now, yeah?
I think so, yeah. Unless you want to throw the Atlanta Falcons in there.
We'll talk about them in just a second. Finishing up the morning games, the Steelers, another good team, with a 31-13 win over the Jets. The Jets look so promising after the first couple weeks, and you thought that maybe they were going to that could challenge for one of those playoff spots, but they're 1-4 now. Great game by Ben Roethlisberger, 380 and 4 TDs for the Steelers.
The Steelers I think they can win the AFC. Are they better than the Patriots? I don't know, but I think they're going to win the AFC.
This offense is it's a different type of Steelers offense. This isn't the run to control everything like they used to. This is a different Steelers offense, and they're executing it to perfection. They've evolved with the times.
They're explosive as hell, too.
This was the last game with the Bumblebee uniforms.
Thank God.
So, R.I.P. Bumblebee. This world wasn't good enough for a uniform like you. But we'll move on to the afternoon. We asked the question, but are the Falcons really this good? 23-16 win over the Broncos. Now, they didn't put up a ton of points, but 23 points against the Broncos defense should be considered a lot.
Especially in Denver.
Yeah, especially in Denver. You have to remember the Broncos were playing with Paxton Lynch, not Trevor Siemian, which, again, to think that they'd be bemoaning the loss of Trevor Siemian is a thing in itself. Gary Kubiak also had to leave this game halfway through with flu-like symptoms.
Ooh.
So kind of a weird one overall for Denver.
You know, flu-like symptoms, a lot of times that means like a heart attack. Like if he didn't have the flu when he got up that morning, that could be I would be a bit surprised with an NFL coach either, but
he had a heart issue before, right? He passed out.
It might have been him. I don't remember. He could have been.
Passed out on the weight room at halftime, like last year, 2 years ago.
Was that him?
Yeah.
I remember that happened. I remember who it was. Yeah. As far as the Falcons go, this game takes me a long way towards convincing me that they might be pretty good because this is one they needed to get me to buy in. But I've also been here before with the Falcons. I saw them go 5-1 to start the season. It might have been last year or the year before and ended up falling apart. So I'm not ready yet, but this is a step in the right direction.
Maybe not the Broncos at their best, but they still beat the Broncos, and that's a feather in their cap to hold on to. Especially if you look at the rest of that division, and if you're the Falcons, you're sitting pretty right now.
Pretty much. Yeah.
The Cowboys and the Bengals. Ezekiel Elliott, 15 carries, 134 yards, and a 28-14 win over the Bengals in Dallas. We thought the Bengals were good, but the way the Bengals have kind of played the last couple weeks, I don't know if I'm really sold on them as much as I was before. And the Cowboys are looking a hell of a lot better than I expected them to look. Cowboys are looking good right now, 4-1.
Yeah, you know, you want to say with the Bengals, and they did have a tough schedule to start. I mean, they played a very tough game against the Jets, and they had Steelers, Broncos, got a win against the Dolphins, and then a good Cowboys team. They might still be good, but they needed to get one of those tough wins, and they couldn't get any of them. If you're going to be a good team in the NFL, you got to win one of those tough games, and they haven't won any of them. So I'm with you. I'm not so sure they're good anymore.
You look at that Bengals schedule, and yeah, they won the games that they should have. You know, with the Jets and Dolphins, and you look at it and say, well, the Cowboys, yeah, they're okay, but this is still a game that the Bengals should win, even though it's on the road. And for them to lose as they did, not only is it just a loss, they looked bad. They did not look like a very good football team through the first three quarters of this game. But yeah, all props to the Cowboys. They're now first place in the NFC East. The Cowboys look like the most complete team out of the four in that division.
And Jerry Jones answered the question yesterday. When Tony Romo comes back, he does become the starting quarterback, which is fine. I guess that's fair. But the nice thing to know is that if Romo doesn't perform well or maybe gets hurt again, I'm not really worried too much about having to put Dak Prescott back in there. So a lot of good things have happened for the Cowboys in these first 5 games.
Let's move on to the West Coast with the Oaklanders playing the San Diego Chargers.
Oh, my God, the poor Chargers. I don't even know what to say at this point.
Chargers. Oh. You know the Chargers have been leading in the fourth quarter in every single one of their losses.
I don't even know what you say.
They're lining up for the tying field goal with like 30 seconds left, and the whole can't grab it. And they fall 34-31. The Chargers put up a hell of an effort.
They've put up a hell of an effort every game this year. That's the thing about this team. I said it last week. I'm going to say it again. This team is better than their record would ever indicate. I think that you just get to a point where when this happens to you a few times, they weren't thinking today is the day we're going to break out of this. They're going, what's going to happen next? And guess what? Whatever it was, it happened. And the field goal, and oh my, I don't even know what to say.
Phillip Rivers towards the end of it, when they did the fumble, they caught him on the sidelines, and if you read his lips, he just said, "Bad news, Bears, man." Raiders improved to 4-1, but it's a very tight 4-1 for the Raiders.
I was just going to ask, do you think it's kind of a soft 4-1? I'm not so sure I'm that impressed by them right now.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be impressed by them. I picked them to do pretty well. I was very bullish on the Raiders this season, but I would agree that it's a soft 4-1. Not that they're a soft team, but it's just they could very easily be like 2-3. Also.
Right. I wanted them to be a little bit more impressive than they are. I'm glad to see it because I like the Raiders and I want to see them do well. But I look at that 4-1 and I go, oh boy, that could so easily be 2-3 or 1-4. It could be completely reversed.
And the last West Coast game in the afternoon, the Buffalo Bills march into the LA Coliseum and defeat the Rams 30-19. Turnovers have killed the Rams in this one. It was turnovers and inexplicable decision by Jeff Fisher. You're at your own 23. You're down by 4, and they run a fake punt terribly. the Bills stop and score a touchdown, game over. I understand that you want to make the big play. The defense wasn't really stopping LaShawn McCoy all day. He ran for 150 yards on 18 carries, but just a weird choice down there. So the Rams are 3-2.
Well, with the Rams, this is right where we had them. Here we go again with the Bills. All right, we've eliminated the Jets. Pretty sure they're not good. Where are we at with the Bills now? Now what? Now they've won 3 straight?
3 straight wins.
Yeah. Now what?
I don't have any sort of confidence in the Bills. I mean, next week they play the 49ers. They should win.
They'll probably lose.
Right. But they play the 49ers and the Dolphins.
And you can mark this down. They will lose to either the Dolphins or I don't know which, but they will lose one of these next 2 games because they always do. They get you thinking, hey, they might be actually pretty good, and then they're going to go out and blow it to a team they have no business losing to. So it'll either be the Rams or the Bills. We'll lose to either the 49ers or the Dolphins. You take your pick, but it's going to happen. They might lose both, but I'm going to guarantee you they lose one of those 2.
Moving on to Sunday night, the Packers 23-16 over the Giants. Decent win for your Pack.
Doesn't this strike you as like a home field game? Like if you play this one in the Meadowlands, the Giants win this game?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. I think they're both evenly matched teams. I think the Packers, I don't know I do know what the problem is. They need to fire the coach, but that's not going to happen. So here we are.
And then, of course, the Monday night game, Buccaneers-Panthers, both 1-3. The Panthers need to win this game.
They can't lose another one. That would make them, 1-4?
4.
Yeah. It's a must-win game for them in Week 5 already.
This has been basically a football show. Follow us on all of our platforms. For Greg, I'm Zach. Enjoy the football.